Here we are talking about the standard economic model and thinking about the efficiency of supply. So if we have demand and supply hitting at some quantity, say a quantity of 6 in this case, in this graph here, we can think, hey, all right, if we had 6 units, would the demand be efficient? And we can go through and we can say, yeah, the demanders would be efficient just by individuals following the rule of rational life and responding to this price signal that is sent by the interaction of market supply and market demand. But what about the supply side of things? Would the suppliers be efficient in this case? How would we measure up the costs to the various different firms and which firms should be producing? We can go through and we can analyze the efficiency of supply. We can look at the supply curve. We can look at the market supply curve or even individual firms' supply curves. And we can look at the total cost, which is the area underneath the supply curve. It's saying the total cost for all of the units under consideration. So we could say the total cost for the first 6 units. That would be the 6 units underneath the supply curve, that area underneath the supply curve for the first 6 units. That would be the total cost for those 6 units. And we can have that same language and we can talk about the marginal cost. And the marginal cost would be the area underneath the supply curve for just one more unit. And we can start to measure, hey, are we producing efficiently? Have we reduced the costs as far as we could? Let's imagine that we have these demanders out there such that the market is going to want 6 units to be supplied. Is the supply that arises from just the firms following the rule of rational life and the market setting and the price system, is that going to be efficient? Can we do better than just allowing firms to follow the rule of rational life and get the outcomes falling wherever they may? Could we allocate the production across different firms such that we end up with a better allocation, less costs? How do we minimize costs, right? How do we minimize these costs that are out there? When firms follow this rule of rational life, each one will keep producing until the marginal cost is equal to the marginal benefit. Can we rearrange things such that we do better than firms just paying attention to their own marginal costs and marginal benefits? Well, in a standard setting, we can imagine 2 different firms, firm A and firm B. And if we look at firm A, we can see that we would be in a scenario where we have firm A deciding to produce all the way up until we hit this price of 30. Let's say they can sell at a price of 30. For all of the units up until this QA here, that firm will be producing, and their costs for each unit is going to be the area underneath the supply curve for those units. Right? So the total cost, say maybe for this last unit produced, would be the area under the supply curve for this firm. Once we hit this magic equilibrium point, what do we have? We have a situation where marginal benefit equals marginal cost. The marginal benefit being the price that the firm gets to sell at. Would firm A produce any units beyond their current point here at that quantity A? The answer is no, because their costs are higher than the benefit, the sales price that they have, right? Their costs are too high. Well, the same thing is happening for firm B here. They will produce up until quantity B, because at quantity B, the marginal benefit, the price, is equal to the marginal cost. So if firms are just following the rule of rational life, we'll have multiple firms that are doing similar things to this. Now the question could be asked, hey, it looks like firm B here is a better firm. At various different prices, firm B can make more units than firm A can. At $30, firm A can only make QA, whereas firm B can make QB. So firm B seems to be the better firm. And without this graph, and without the logic of every firm producing until their marginal benefit equals the marginal cost, or price equals marginal cost in this case, we might sit there and think, well, shoot, maybe we could reallocate the production here and do better. Maybe we could take one unit away from the producer A and have producer B make that unit instead. Producer B is better. So maybe we should have producer B make one more unit and producer A make one less unit, and maybe that would save society some cost. Well, let's look at that. In this case, we can see that firm A, if they reduced one unit, right, firm A would save this red area here in terms of cost. The marginal cost of producing this last unit would be that red area that is highlighted. If we then instead had firm B make an additional unit, so we need to increase one unit for firm B, how much would it cost society? How much would it cost firm B to make that unit? Well, we can look at the marginal cost of that unit, and it would be this yellow area here. Well, quite clearly, the yellow area, the cost to firm B of making one more, is larger than the cost saved for firm A, the red area. Right? We know with upward sloping supply curves that by adding from the equilibrium point, we are going to be having this rectangle here plus a little bit extra of this kind of triangle-ish shape here for the yellow additional cost, whereas we know that the reduction of one unit will be smaller than the rectangle of 1 times the price or $30 of cost. So this red area has to, by definition, be smaller than this yellow area. In other words, by rearranging the production, we have added some additional cost, and we've reduced the cost, but the addition of the cost is greater than the reduction. The yellow cost added is better than the red cost savings. So reallocating production is not helping in this case whatsoever. The best that we could possibly do is allowing each firm to simply produce until price equals marginal cost, or letting each firm simply go and buy the rule of rational life and seeing how many they would like to produce, what quantity they would produce in the market setting. You can't do any better than that. So what we get from this is this idea that supply is efficient, right? In a similar way that we showed that demanders would have efficient demand given 6 units out there and then we have to allocate them. Well, who should make these 6 units that are there? Well, the supply in a market setting, by just allowing firms to decide for themselves, would be efficient. We would get an efficient distribution of who is making the various quantities of the 6 units. The outcome from letting people follow the rule of rational life makes demand efficient and it makes supply efficient. There is no way to rearrange the production and help somebody without harming somebody. And the value of social resources is maximized when we allow the rule of rational life. We have minimized the cost to society. There is no way for a firm to gain in this market without harming another firm, Pareto efficiency. And more importantly, for our analysis here, we have maximized the dollar value of social resources given our production task. We cannot rearrange our production and reduce the cost given that we have to make this quantity of 6, i.e. we have achieved Kaldor-Hicks efficiency.